Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Show with Charlie Armour and Angie McLean. Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter at Studio Burrow.
All right, Charlie, that time again. It's April 29th, and we're joined today by guest Jose Fernandez. Welcome.
Woo! Nice
What's up, guys?
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm a little. Well, I'm really energized right now, so I guess this is the perfect time to do it.
Very good.
What's your drink? What's your drink at the moment? You said water, but is there anything else?
Nah, just water. I'm just staring at two water bottles right now.
I bet Andrew can tell what I'm drinking.
Tea.
Yes.
Can you tell what I'm
You love your
drinking right
tea?
now?
Mm-hmm. You're drinking Success.
Yes. Correct. No.
What's a tea of preference?
Yeah. What? Charlie.
What is my? I like tea and coffee.
He likes the English tea. He likes
Okay.
the tea that is black there.
Shit.
But my wife, is Mexican, and ever since then I've been drinking coffee. Then I
Yeah.
got addicted to coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Hispanics can't function without drinking coffee in the morning. My parents are the same.
No, I can't. That's it. In fact, I've got to have loads of tea as well. I have to have more tea now.
I can't do coffee whatsoever. It kills me for the rest of the day.
You can have one coffee. I reckon that would do it. That's all you need. But I have 3. I've already had 3 coffees and about 3 teas already.
Today?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Jeez.
I'm really up for this, guys. Come on.
How long have you been awake?
What?
Well,
I'm awake.
well, I guess because whenever I message you, it's like 1 o'clock my time. That
You know
would be
what?
like
I've messaged you
5
at 5 in the morning.
5 in the morning. Yeah. So
Yeah. I don't know when I sleep, but I do
yeah.
sleep.
how like
I
an
do
hour?
sleep. I have no idea. But
Because I message you and I'm like, maybe Scott will get this, or I messaged the group and I'm like, maybe Scott will get this in the middle of the night and stuff like that. But then I see read by Charlie and I'm like,
I love when you send someone a message.
look at the time and it's
And he's
2
wide
o'clock
awake.
in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's like,
I'm a vampire. What can I say? That's why I drink coffee. It's coffee's fault. It's not me.
yeah, I also enjoy coffee. I used to drink like two cream, 2 sugar, I guess it would be for you guys. Here it's called double. But
Whoa, I like that.
yeah,
That
well,
sounds good.
Smells fun.
yeah.
That does. Double.
If you go to Canada and you say, "Can I please have a double?" It's 2 cream, 2 sugar, or 2 milk, 2 sugar. I don't know what it is. I just kind of that was my drink of choice. But I eventually went to 2 cream, 1 sugar, and then I just went black.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Oh wow.
so
What about tea? Have you ever had tea?
Me?
We're talking about tea and coffee, but yeah, you.
oh yeah,
Any of you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
drink tea occasionally when I have like
Same.
stomach aches or whatever. Just because growing up, my mom was like, "Oh, here's some house remedy. Take some tea," and it seems to do the job. But other than that, I don't drink it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean a chamomile tea, yeah?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it was. Has to be.
I drink DL, so I just kind of, if my nanny usually comes over to watch the kids in the morning, so I'll sit down and have a tea with her, something like that, chat for a little bit. So in the Twitch chat, we have somebody named Ray Sheldon 93. It says, "Hey everyone, that self-portrait is mad realistic."
It's good, isn't
thank
it?
you.
Yeah, it is
Wait,
good.
let me pull up the chat. Just so I can
Crazy
look at
good.
it as well. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And they say they love tea.
Well, they're friends of mine now.
Yeah, so what have you all been doing the past week, I guess? The last time I
Yeah,
talked to Charlie, what have you done, Charlie? I know you've composed some top secret stuff for us.
Yeah, I've been composing a bit of music for a year, and That's been going well. Been getting good feedback.
Yeah, it's been awesome what I've heard so far.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
like it?
I do like it.
Would you give me any feedback? No.
Uh, other than what Scott wants, I enjoyed the first rendition, and I was like, man, this is good. And
Oh,
and
so
then
the
and
the
then
new one you don't know, do
no, no,
you?
no, I do. I pretty much everything that you make, I'm like, dang, this is good. But then like Scott knows best. Scott knows what he wants and what would be good best for the game because I'm like I like haven't seen what is going on so far for this new top secret game that we're doing. So like I don't know how what would fit in it.
No.
Yeah.
We can't mention it now. We can't
I
mention a little
I
bit of
I don't think
Whatever it is, I'm really excited.
yeah, I don't think we
it.
can
It's so top secret, yeah.
I don't think we can mention anything quite yet, but we
It's
will.
locked up in Area 51 at the moment.
Uh,
I think it leaked to the Pentagon.
yeah,
No.
yeah. So what about you, Jose? What have you done over the past
So
weeks?
I've been doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
For the most part, the quarantine hasn't really affected my day to day, right, as much as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
However, not having as much pressure to get things done during all this has forced me to experiment with a lot of things that I've usually pushed aside for work, like books, movies, video games. I've been listening to a lot of new music and stuff like that. And my most recent project has been to move around my workspace,
Yeah.
and I ended up ordering a gaming PC.
Ooh.
After ordering like this huge tablet that I'm working on currently, um, just to I don't know, just to change my workflow and change things like that. However, the whole gaming PC has been more of a headache than I anticipated
Yeah.
because I was telling Charlie that I ended up ordering it last Friday. However, it wasn't until last night that they told me they had to cancel my order
Oh.
because apparently it's out of stock or something. Uh, so I don't know. It's kind of been a headache to like move everything around and put stuff together. But I'm really excited for it because I plan to start streaming on Twitch, like me working live and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And just get into that whole realm. I've been planning to on doing so for quite a while now. But now that I'm out of school and I have all this free time in my hands, I figured why not give it a shot. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
what what will you be doing on Twitch when you finally get your
So
gaming PC?
so about a year ago, I used to go live very often on
yeah.
Instagram, and one of my favorite activities going live, or while I was live, was to ask certain requests from people, from like viewers, and I would mishmash a bunch of their requests and make an illustration for them with their suggestions. So I'm thinking of doing that uh, when I start streaming live. Also, I'm also thinking of doing more like celebrity portraits live. I know a lot of people would ask me to like if I had recorded myself working live, and I haven't. 'Cause that's a lot of that. Those are a lot of hours to be recording. So I
Yeah.
figured I might do that live as well.
Mhm.
And another thing that I have in mind is to do some daily dollar doodles live. I recently opened up a page because I was just like, I'm bored and I feel like doodling, and so it's called Dollar Doodles on IG, and I essentially just ask for $1, and I doodle whatever they ask me to doodle, and it's been a lot of fun.
That is
Um,
cool.
I think the change of pace, or rather, just switching it up and doing doodles has like rejuvenated my motivation to keep working or whatever. Just because like I don't know, I usually get tired of working on the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
so switching that switch in my brain and now focusing on like stuff that I don't really have to give like too much effort into it brings back that joy that I found as a kid of like doodling and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Sweet. Like Twitch has a huge like uh artist fan base. I find like
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
we would do few streams of animation whenever we were developing the Lost Gardens, which is a game that we released on Steam,
Mhm.
and
Sweet.
Aislinn, who is our animator, we would get her set up to stream, and we would have actually like regular fans who would come in every day and be like this would be part of their routine, their daily routine.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was pretty
That's really
cool.
cool.
Like just to see people come in, check in on us, know our names, know what we do, our personalities. Pretty fun.
What's the name of the game again?
It's called The Lost Gardens.
Lost Guard. You said
Yeah,
it's on Steam.
yeah, it's on Steam. Um,
Sweet.
so Ray Sheldon says that what was your favorite request so far? Asks.
Uh, I'm assuming she's asking. Also, hi Rachel, I love you. You're the best. I'm assuming she's asking about the doodles. My favorite
Mhm.
request so far. Damn, it's been so many. I don't even know. Let me look through my page real quick. I'm sure it's one of those that I've posted. Let's see. Oh, so there's this guy on Instagram called who is Quill, and he like his thing is doing doodles, but his doodles are like out of this world. He requested that I guess he has like the spaceman character or something. And he requested that I do fan art of his spaceman doodles in the style that I was doing the doodles in,
Mhm.
and it just blows my because like I'm not putting much work into my doodles, but I can see that the stuff he does is like it probably takes hours on end. So that was really exciting to do because it opens my mind to the potential that all these doodles can have. Like if I really put the effort in it,
Yeah,
and it's a joke to me, but it's crazy to see what you can do with it if taking a completely different direction. So props to
yeah.
him. That had to be one of the most fun doodles that have been requested so far.
How many doodles have you done so far, do you reckon, roughly?
There's been 41 posted. There's about 20 more sitting on my iPad that I have to post. Um, so yeah, around 50, 60 so far. And
I know you're so quick at them as well. So quick.
that's the thing. So
I
like,
see them on Instagram. I'm like, well, another one. Wow, wow.
so like they don't take long to make, right? However, it's pretty difficult to try to stop my brain from thinking about it too in like a way too convoluted fashion. Um, Especially when it comes to like likenesses and stuff, because a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, draw me or draw my girl or whatever."
Yeah.
Um, the most challenging part of that is trying to replicate their likeness with at least the least amount of lines possible.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so technically they don't take long, but I think the long part comes in thinking about how to approach it.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I've seen them and even though they're doodles, they're still detailed
Thank,
enough. I couldn't do it. That would
thank
take me. That would take me hours just to do that.
you.
But is there a part of doing drawing that you still find difficult?
I think the most challenging. Well, short answer is yes. I have uh every project has its own difficulties. I think the largest difficulty lies on just the planning for it, because it's not just I sit down and I start drawing. Um, it's more so. There's a lot of time taken in gathering references, uh, figuring out compositions of the work and stuff like that. And I'm of course referring to like client work and stuff like that. Um, there's a lot of like pre-planning, and then once you get into the drawing, uh, it's you got to think of it like sculpting, right? So like you have like your I don't know, like a block of clay or something. You don't necessarily jump into those details. Like you don't necessarily start jumping into drawing the eyeball or whatever. You have to shape it little by little. So when it comes to drawing, it's the same idea. And I don't necessarily show all of it, but there's a lot of scribbles and There's a lot of like erasing. There's a lot of like moving around and stuff that happens to get to that point. So, long story less long, the just preparing for it. There's a lot of like second guessing, and there's a lot of I don't know, because I'm my worst critic as well. So I tend to look at things in a very critical way, and more often than not stops me from progressing while I'm working. So
So this is what I do if I'm doing like music or something. I don't know if it's good or not, but I leave it for like a day or two, yeah, and then
mm,
go back to it,
with a
and then
fresh
hit,
ear.
and then hear it again
Yeah.
because you're so used to the sound beforehand. And I suppose that's with you see it, you're so used to seeing that. If you go like
Right.
away from it and then go back to it and then see if you
Yeah.
can, see if it's any good then. So
It's
you have
precisely the same idea. I tend to walk away in intervals of an hour, but there's a weird balance that I have to find because more often than not, I have a deadline to meet. So instead of leaving a project for a day and coming back to it, I'll tend to either flip the project horizontally, and it gives me like a new perspective. It's like essentially like putting it up to a mirror. So that gives me an automatic result in seeing what's wrong with it. Or what I've learned to do often, or recently rather, is work on multiple projects. So I'll switch my brain off on one and jump on another one. So by the time I come back to it, like in a couple of minutes or an hour or whatever the case, I'll no longer, or rather, I'll have a refreshed a brain to now look at it. So I'm assuming it's the same thing as you were mentioning. Uh, but I have to force myself to do it in a much quicker fashion when it comes to meeting deadlines and stuff.
Also, I put my music in sort of an album of well-known artists, and then I play it with them and see if it's like the same or similar, production-wise.
What
Do
do you
you
mean?
do
Like
that?
you'll put it like in a playlist with
Yeah,
other songs and stuff?
yeah, and then
Really?
I'll listen, see if it's like, oh, it does, is mine worse than theirs, yeah, or that's
That's
how I.
cool as shit.
So I suppose, do you do that with art? You like place it with like well-known artists and think,
You know
oh,
what? Now that I think about it, I have done it in the past, and I wasn't aware of it. So, and I'm thinking about the projects I've, like the Logic fan art that I've done. Um, more specifically, starting with like the supermarket fan art that I did, or the Bobby Tarantino 3 fan art that I did. I remember placing them next to Sam Spratt's work and zooming into like the tiniest details and just wondering if my strokes resembled his.
yeah, because you want
And
your own style as well,
Yeah,
obviously.
so the whole purpose of those fan arts was to see how well I can push my ability to replicate his art style. And I do this with
Exactly.
a lot of people. Like I've done it with my illustrations in comics. Like I have a few comic artists that I look up to, and I try to replicate their style as closely as possible. Um, and So I did it with Sam too. And it's just a matter of I guess I do it selfishly just to know if I have the ability to do that type of work or that quality of work. Um, but I haven't really thought about it until you just mentioned placing your music
Yeah,
inside other albums.
Yeah.
That's really really cool.
yeah.
So in the Twitch chat we have Ray saying you put your own spin on it, and that's amazing, Jose.
Thank you, Rach. I try to, as much as as much as any creative tries to replicate someone else's style, you won't be able to do it precisely, because we all have our own flair. Um, so I don't think that comes consciously. I think it's more of a subconscious, like it's just your style or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because I try and do something different. I do like get ideas from other artists, but I try and do my own way.
So
My own
elaborate on
gimmick.
that.
Yeah.
So elaborate on that. So when you say you try to do other things or different things that other artists do, are you referring to like well, I don't know what you're referring to. You mind elaborating?
Well, I kind of mix artists together to make my own style.
Okay,
If
so
you
are you
get what I
referring
mean.
to like I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I'm not very like music savvy.
Yeah. So your music is what exactly hip? You like hip hop?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like the orchestral sort of styles when it comes to doing music. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I sort of Danny Elfman. So like Nightmare Before
Uh,
Christmas, stuff like that.
uh-huh.
James Horner, Braveheart, stuff like that. So I try and
Okay.
mix them all together to make my own. I don't want to be them, obviously, but
Right, right.
they just
Yeah.
give me ideas, you know.
Now, how do you feel as a creative? How do you feel? I've always had this conversation with fellow creatives. How do you feel about um not necessarily well, how do you feel about copying another artist? Not to necessarily say it's like this is my own work and this is what I do, but more so on just your learning experience. Because as a kid, I've always been taught to, don't copy or don't yada yada, like be yourself. However, I've learned that if I act or behave as a sponge and try to learn from as many other creatives as I can, it tends to sort of like some of it tends to filter through my techniques and stuff, and I pick up a little bit of everything, and does that kind of like Frankenstein's into my own style. Do you feel it's the same with like your music making and stuff like that?
Yeah, I feel like I go by. There's always a rule in music and a rule in art. Yeah, you have to go by some sort of rule, and then you just you know make up your own style. As long as you can get ideas from other artists, but I kind of want to do my own sort of
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I feel that that's been generally more or
composition.
less right. That's been generally more or less the answer that I get from like other creatives.
Yeah, because you're
But
not exactly copying, are you? You're just getting ideas. Yeah.
right.
And
So
sometimes you do like, oh, I'll do what he's doing and then seeing what I can do afterwards. Sort of.
Yeah.
exactly. But it's funny to hear that from a creative and then hear the complete opposite from like non-creative people. I've had arguments in the past where like non-creative people, I don't know what else to call them, but they'll argue with me and try to scold me, or not me specifically, but in general, scold people over exactly what we were talking about, and label them as like, oh, you're a cheater, or or other nonsensical stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, I
but
know.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying here. Yeah, but you can like follow the people. You can learn from them. So it's not like
for sure,
you're not stealing them.
Yeah.
right.
You're not stealing their ideas. Yeah, because I know you do different types of art. Yeah,
Hmm.
because you like a lot of Sam stuff. I see as well. Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, I like a bunch of shit, but specifically for the Logic fan art stuff, the whole goal of it is to. I mean, there are times where like I do like messing around with the fans and stuff because like I'm a huge fan as well. So all those Easter eggs and stuff like that, like that attracts me 100%. So I selfishly try to have fun with it and by imitating it as closely as possible. But
Yeah.
that's just where it stops. Like I don't carry that over to my other projects like my comic books or other artists like covers and stuff like that. That specifically sits and lives within the fan art for that stuff.
Okay, so
Well,
I don't want to interrupt here, but we've
Go right
got
ahead.
we got lots of people in the chat. Savvy Almighty, welcome to the chat.
Hey,
They
the
say
hometown.
if you take inspiration from someone, make sure to credit them in somehow, some way.
yeah.
They deserve
Oh,
praise for their
for
inspiration on
sure.
you. And then
Hell yeah.
True.
Blown
I
Hell
says,
yeah,
agree, man.
absolutely.
"Ooh,
I'm a huge believer in showing love, and especially when you pay homage to people, because it's like, you know, you wouldn't have maybe gotten those ideas if it weren't for them or people that came before them. Because like for example, we're here talking about Sam Spratt, but Sam Spratt's a huge like Norman Rockwell fan, and
Yeah.
it's clearly evident in his work. Like you know what I mean? So it's like it's always awesome to pay homage to those who laid the groundwork to allow you to do whatever it is that you do creatively. Um,
Who inspires you the most?
Me, it depends on what it is specifically. If it's album covers, of course, Sam Spratt's it's an amazing inspiration. If it comes to comics, there's a whole list of people like Ryan Otley or Scott Johnson or Todd
Yeah.
McFarlane. Like the list is endless. Um, if it comes to just painting in general, there's Drew Struzan. I don't know if you guys are familiar. He's the guy who most famously did the a lot of um, famous movie posters like the Back to the Future poster or the
Yeah.
Harry
Cool.
Potter one.
Oh,
Or
they are good, yeah.
Jones. It's
That's
all
awesome.
that one guy, Drew Struzan. He's an animal. So inspiration for me comes from just everywhere and anywhere I can find it. And the cool thing is that it doesn't specifically have to be within the same creative pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Mhm.
doesn't. I don't necessarily specifically find art inspiration in other artists. I can find it anywhere in music and movies. Like for example, I'm constantly looking like when I view or when I watch movies, and I can't think of anything else. But specifically, I'm thinking of this one example. Have you guys watched John Wick?
Yes.
I haven't.
So
But yes, I know it.
you haven't? You
No.
should. It's really cool. But whatchamacallit. So while I was watching that, all the cool like neon blues and pinks of the movies inspired me for a while I was back in school making my comics to color my comics in a similar fashion. So again, just inspiration just comes from like anywhere I can find it.
Cool.
Have you seen the third one of that? The third
I
film?
did.
I
Parabellum.
still
I believe.
haven't seen it yet.
You
Is
should.
it any good?
I went in there very skeptical about whether or not they would be able to live up to the last two movies, but
Okay.
it just gets crazier and crazier, and just when you can't think it gets any crazier, it's
But that's the
surprising.
point, isn't it? That's the point. of the
Yeah,
film.
no, it's a really entertaining movie. You should watch it.
So,
Yeah.
Mad Mike says hi. Hello,
My
Mad.
boy. What's up,
And-
Mike?
And Ray says creative goals you might have.
Creative goals I have. There's plenty. Let's see what I can mention. I definitely want to get back into making comic books. That has surprisingly been put on hold since last year, right? So like I graduated from a comic book school thinking, great, as soon as I graduate, well, while I was in school, I published the two previous books I did. And the idea was, great, right after I graduate, my comic book career is going to just like fly out of this earth and just, whatever. But while I was in school, the whole music and album cover stuff was happening. And in an unexpected turn of events, it has consumed my career. And so, to answer the question, in the very, very near future, I do want to jump back to making comics and stuff like that because that's my main passion. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and then Savvy Almighty says, yes, inspiration comes from anything and everything. Everything is art in my eyes.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Everything, and this is an argument that I used to have with my parents when I was younger.
Yeah.
They would, I mean, they're naive and they grew up in a world where like all they knew was a 9 to 5, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
I don't blame them for that. But an argument that did reoccur time and time again during my life was, how are you gonna make it? How are you gonna make a living out of art? And my response was just simply like look around you. Everything from
Yeah.
the chair you're
Mhm.
sitting on to the table you have your computer on to the mug you're drinking your coffee out of
Yeah.
to the shirt you're wearing to the house we're living in. Like everything was designed
Yeah.
by an artist. So that's the short answer to that.
Yeah. So true.
Even the toilet. Even the toilet.
Even just everything. It's crazy
the
to think
toilet.
about.
That's it.
Everything had to be
When you're
designed.
taking that dump, you think about the art that went into that.
Yeah,
Are we
man,
talking about the toilet or?
Yes.
Both.
Well, it depends how creative you are.
Shit. You know what?
uh,
What's up?
Ray
So,
says, release Sanctified.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Sanctified is a comic book that's been in the work for shit a little over, I guess, 2 years now. Well, it's been put on hold. It's a book that I'm working on with Sermon,
Yeah.
and it's a hip hop based book where it shows us the life of an upcoming rapper who's also dealing with, like, a messed up household and a neighborhood and all that stuff. However, that unfortunately has been put on hold, or was put on hold because of school.
Yeah.
And like I was mentioning before, the idea was to jump right back into stuff like that, but it's on hold until further notice. And there has been talk about like jumping back into it immediately, but the problem is that I'm just overwhelmed with commissions, and I gotta meet people's requests and stuff like that, and bills gotta keep being paid. So
Yeah.
that has unfortunately been put on hold until further notice.
but Ray,
Yeah.
it will happen. Don't worry.
Oh, for sure, it will
It's
happen.
not yet.
Right?
Don't worry. It's coming.
It's coming sometime.
Yeah.
I want to know where this all started. You wanted to be an artist. I know it's a typical basic question, but I do
never
want to
get
know.
tired of answering, because I don't know, people love asking it. But um, here, I'll give you the long-winded story. So,
When I was born,
no, well, yeah, no, actually, apparently I've been doodling my entire life. Like, my mom has literally saved every doodle I've ever made, and she has shown me like doodles from like kindergarten and stuff like that. But like, that's natural. We all love doodling as kids. However, the way I like to tell this story is, I like to say that my interest in art began around the third or fourth grade. I remember being in class, sitting next to my best friend at the time. His name was Nathaniel, and I remember watching him draw either, I believe it was Sonic, but it could have been
Oh.
Goku because we were both like huge Dragon Ball Z fans at the time. So it was either Goku or Sonic. And anyways, I saw him drawing it, or he had a picture of it next to him, and I remember him drawing that, and it just blew my mind um, how I'm hold on, I'm having a brain fart. How and I'm gonna blame that on the lack of sleep. It's been it's been fucking me up.
you
But
need coffee. You need coffee. There.
um okay, so it blew my mind how precise he made it look. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know people were able to do that. I want to try it. And to my surprise, it just, I don't know, it just clicked with me. Um, More so, it also, I mean, I don't specifically want to say that I had a terrible upbringing, because I didn't. Like, my parents were great. I was in an all right neighborhood. However, it was gang infested, more so back then than it is now.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
because of that, my mom was always very strict with me, and would prohibit me from going outside or like hanging out with friends at an early age and stuff like that, because she knew that those kids were involved in like gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had to find some way to keep myself entertained at home, and it was one of two things. It was either video games or drawing, and drawing just trumped over it. So my entire childhood, uh, comics and drawings were my go-to whenever I don't know, felt depressed about something, or mom grounded me, or whatever the case was. So uh, growing up, it just stuck with me, and I remember having this one specific art teacher since the first grade, Mr. Cabrera. He was my mentor literally until I graduated high school. Like, he was my art teacher throughout all those years, and I don't think if it wasn't for his encouragement, I don't think I'd be here sitting with you guys today. Simply
Yeah.
because I can imagine being a little kid and somebody telling me, "Don't do that. That's bad. That's terrible. Don't draw." I can imagine how that would have affected me and discouraged me from ever doing art ever again. So, I believe
Yeah.
it was a combination of just my interest in it, but also having people who encouraged me to keep on going, like my parents, even though they didn't understand it, and my art teacher. So eventually, that led to uh, high school, where I got bored of it a little bit, and
Yeah.
I stopped doing it for a couple of years. However, well, meanwhile that I was trying to discover if there was any other interest. You know, I tried football, that didn't work out. I tried music and playing piano, and although that's been a love of mine for a couple of years, I never paid much mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
I tried plenty of other things. However, nothing called my name like art. So, jump forward to college. Here I am sitting down and wondering what the fuck to do with my life. Now I knew that art was without a doubt something that needed to be explored and needed to be turned into a career. However, I didn't know exactly what to do with art. And I thought for the longest that portraiture and fine art would be my go to. And of course, clearly it still is because I'm constantly posting portraits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one thing that I never liked about it is that um, I'm not I'm not dedicating my life into, maybe I will in the future, but for the moment I'm not necessarily dedicating my life into taking years and years to create a painting just to have it up in a gallery and, you know, have my luck run through the gutter to see if any millionaire wants to buy my painting or whatever. I more or less discovered that I love telling stories, as I'm sure you guys know, because I won't shut up about it. But I
I
love telling
like it.
stories. Thank you. I love telling stories, and I love correlating that to my love for comics. So while I was in college, I got really frustrated, um, because I attended a general college, and I found that work full time and school full time was forcing me to come home at midnight and dedicate whatever time I can muster up after being exhausted
Mm-hmm.
into developing my craft. I figured during that time that if I don't practice my craft, when the hell am I gonna, succeed in it? So I remember getting really frustrated with school, and I started failing a bunch of classes because I was just focusing my time on artwork. And I remember this one specific teacher, my women's lives class. She pulled me outside the class and she's like, "Hey, Jose, I want you to know that you're failing my class." And I responded like, "Yeah, I'm aware of it." And she's like, "What's going on? Like, why are you failing my class?" And I just told her straight up, like, "Miss, like, to be honest, it's not that I don't like your class. It's not that I don't find you interesting or anything. Like, you're a great teacher, but I just give two fucks about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I want to do artwork, but here I am wasting money and
Mm-hmm.
time on stuff that is denying me from practicing my craft." So she advised me that I go talk to my counselor, and I was at the time unaware that, of course, I mean, college is a business at the end of the day, and they have to force you to take some like other curriculums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really fed up with the idea that I was forced to take other classes that necessarily wasn't helping me practice on my craft. So I ended up dropping out of that and then discovering the comic book school because I figured, all right, what are two things that I love in my life? Comics, drawing. Let's just learn how to make comics and do it. So uh, that then turned to my comic book career, and which then turned to whatchamacallit. I had a silly idea to make a comic book about a Logic album, and funny enough, I followed through with it, and 2 years later, here I am talking to you guys. Wow.
Wow.
Okay, so that was my story.
That's an awesome
Has
story.
Logic been in touch?
Oh, for sure. I saw him in February actually. I went over to see or Silas. His name is Anthony, but I went over to see Anthony in February just to kick it for around 2 weeks, and this just goes to show how good of a person Bob is. I know we're all aware, he's an extremely busy individual, and he's a father now. So back in February, a couple of days after his wife gave birth, um, I was sitting on the couch and just minding my own business, working or whatever. And I hear a knock on the door. Now I was high as shit and just minding my own business, and I don't usually like opening people's doors and shit, right? Because it's not my house. So I ended up calling Anthony over, like, yo, the door, whatever, somebody's knocking. And I walked to the kitchen, and now I'm very blind without my glasses. And I remember
Yeah.
walking to the kitchen, one being high as shit, but two just blind, looking at the door, thinking, oh, it's just one of Anthony's boys. Like, who the hell is that? But I'm gonna go say hi anyways. And it wasn't until I grabbed his hand that I realized who it was, and I was like, "Oh shit, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey man, I just came to just give you some of my time and chill with you for a little bit. I have to run in about an hour, but yeah, we ended up chilling for an hour, and he ended up giving me some like signed gifts and stuff, and
Wow.
specifically a Bobby Boy Records hat that apparently I'm the only one he's ever given one to, because it's still in prototype. And he gave me, what was it? Signed supermarket vinyl, a signed YS4 CD, and a signed and dedicated supermarket hard book. And it wasn't until I think 2 days after that I sat down and read it, because he told me like, "Hey, I dedicated it to you. I wrote a little message. You don't have to read it now." Um, but so I'll get to that. So, anyways, we sat down, and he played me No Pressure. He was just like, "Hey man, you want to listen to some music?" I'm like, duh, like why wouldn't I? And he played me No Pressure,
Wow.
and that was a fucking trip, because here I am. I don't necessarily have like one-to-one communication with Bob,
Yeah.
but my every work that I do for like Silas or Damien, all of it, one way or another, has to be overseen by Bob himself. So indirectly, I have gotten like, "Hey, fix this or fix that," or "You're doing great, this is great," or whatever, through Anthony or Damien. But there hasn't been like a direct, like, I'll just text him like we're buddies, because we're not.
Yeah.
It's just like all business and stuff like that. But just to get to the point, he damn near took an hour out of his time, like immediately after his wife giving birth and stuff like that. Because like, I don't know, to me, I think that like, damn, you should be home, you should be with your kid, like, do your thing. I understand that, but to give me not 5 minutes, but let alone an hour of his time, I thought it was pretty cool. So I ended up sitting by myself. I think Anthony and Kyle went to like celebrate Six's birthday or something, and I was sitting on the couch, and I finally opened the book, and he wrote, "To Jose, your artwork inspires me daily. Keep it up. We'll do something. With love, Bobby and Logic." So this ended up making me cry like a little bitch, only because like, I, for around 2.5 years now, have
Yeah.
been doing fan art of the guy and like everybody in the team. And it wasn't until sitting there reading that it all hit me that like, damn, like all these endless and sleepless nights, all this hard work, all this constant work for other people and his team and stuff like that, like it's actually working. And it all
Pays
hit
off.
me at once, and I was just like, holy shit, like did this really just happen? This is crazy. So I don't know. It's been a weird trip, but I guess that answered your question. I don't even know what the fuck your question was. I'm sorry.
You've answered it somewhere. I like it though. Yeah.
That was a good story.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, there seems to be. Bobby is such an amazing dude, Savvy says.
Yeah, in the chat.
He is, He is, and
Is
he
he?
wasn't angry at all. Especially when we did our shoot, he was and it was really cold out, and he was
Oh,
busy.
was it? Was it freezing?
Oh, it was so cold. I had a blanket on me.
Oh,
I was like a little old lady, like there, like shaking, like, and then the video started, and I became like, I don't know, Mr. Dancer for some reason, and I had to take drugs because of I had a real bad hip problem, so I had
Yeah.
to take drugs at the time. So I think that's sparked me up. So that's why I did the wheelie. I was all high on drugs. Did this video really happen?
How did that all come about, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it came about on, there's a website called Hit Record by Joseph
Right.
Gordon-Levitt, yeah?
Yeah, I'm
He's the
aware.
founder, and his brother did it. And I went on it, like I've been on it for a couple of years now, and I saw like a project they were doing where they get the community together and they put like their parts of of the song from Logic. So Logic had like a drum beat and some keys, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he wanted everyone to join in and add their parts to this, yeah. And so I added my sort of orchestral sort of bit for this track, and I looked him up beforehand just to see if it went and stuff, and I thought, wow, yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that bit, and then other people joined in, and they all calibrated together, and we became I don't know,
That is so sick.
a big family. There was like 20. There was actually over 160 artists
Wow.
that contributed to the
God damn.
yeah, and then 20 got to the actual music video, and we all did our bit. We didn't even know that we were going to do a music video.
No.
We just thought we're just going to listen to the song. Yeah.
Was that a last minute like surprise? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm flying you guys out.
Yeah. That
That's
was last minute. So I was just surprised because I was trying different versions of the song. I did a hip hop one, and then I did an orchestral one.
Yeah.
So, and they liked the orchestral one best. So I thought, wow,
you guys absolutely did an amazing job on that. That was really cool.
I know. I had an idea for the actual music video where we all come out of
Out
the
of the van. Yeah.
out of the van. I come out from the side because I'm not actually in the van. Because their idea was getting me out of the van, but there's a ramp. I would be flying down that ramp. I'll be in the bushes, yeah. But my idea was like you do like the music video, yeah, and at the end they'd go off because they didn't actually pay for the gas, yeah, and then they leave me there to pay for it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. It's still surreal now. So definitely, I know. So
Yeah.
what's in the chat at the moment?
Coffee.
Fluffy. Yeah. Yeah. So, Savvy says it's amazing. I think that was referring to your Logic music video, Charlie.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still surreal now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still amazed by it.
So, have you guys had any or saw any news reports lately that have caught your eye? I usually, while I'm doing the podcast, scroll through just to see if there's anything that catches my eye, and I did see
UFOs.
Yeah, that was one, and then there was another one that caught my eye about where Charlie lives, and I know
Is
how
it
much.
Boris?
Yes,
Is
I
it
know.
Boris Johnson? Is it?
I know how much you love Boris.
Where do you guys live?
I live in Canada.
I live in the UK, obviously. London.
Oh, sweet. How do you guys know each other?
Uh,
Sorry to intervene.
yeah, it's through Rabbit Hole Studios, so the entertainment studio that we both work for.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he does the composing for video games and different things like that, and I do marketing for everything that we're doing. So the podcast, some art streams, comic books, that kind of thing.
I'm definitely gonna pick you guys' brains after this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't want to steer away from the question you had about the news, but
yeah.
Isn't it crazy what we can accomplish like in today's world with the use of social media?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
It
crazy.
is absurd that you can. I mean, you mentioned you were from Canada and Charlie in the UK, right? So like, if I don't think if it was for social media, you guys would even know each other.
No,
or shit, just me talking to you guys, because I'm in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's like it still boggles my mind that you can instantly communicate with people around the world. Yeah, I don't know. Social media it's a very powerful tool, but of course can be very detrimental if used the wrong way. But anyways, so what news were you? Did you?
So I was just about to say that Boris Johnson and his fiance announced that they had a baby boy. I did
Oh shit.
not even know, and I thought that Boris was a lot older than the age
He
where.
he is. He is a lot older. Yes. She's. But yeah. Yes, he's got a little baby boy now, and
Okay.
so
Oh,
that's great for him and his.
Is it
It
though?
means he'll take more time off. He's taking more time off anyway. He didn't need a baby to do that. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
his. How many kids now? 20.
I don't even know. I know nothing about
He's got.
UK
I think he's
politics.
got five. He's got 6 kids now, and one he won't say he's got. So I don't know.
jeez.
The good thing is he mentioned this one. So
Yeah.
well, this kid's gonna have a good life so far.
Yeah. So
The
so
kid's gonna
Jose.
be like, "Put me back. Take me out. Take me out in like 5 months' time."
So Jose, you mentioned you're from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So one of the first ever conventions or trips that we took as like Rabbit Hole Studios as like a company was from PEI, like small province, Prince Edward Island,
Hmm.
to New Jersey. We all took a road trip. It was 18 hours that we drove.
Shit.
Yeah, and just anytime anybody says New Jersey, I'm like, ah, that was a good time. It was. We went to Atlantic City.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have mixed feelings about Atlantic City.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I thought it looked a lot like we went during the fall, mind you, so it was not the busiest time. So,
Right.
um, Scott compared it a lot to Fallout New Vegas,
Yeah.
if you've ever.
Yeah. There's a lot of casinos there.
So like, yeah,
So it looks like a fucking post-apocalyptic.
yeah. If you look out the window, there's nothing, and then you go into the casino, and it's like huge amount of people.
Did you
Everything.
gamble?
Yeah. Did I gamble there?
Yeah.
No, I was underage. I was underage in America. I was not underage in Canada.
What?
Yeah, because Canada is 19. I was 20, and in America it's 21, I think, or it changes per
Well,
state.
what's the age you can drive?
Drive here, 16.
Yeah. So you can drive at 16, but you can't
You
gamble.
can't gamble.
Yeah.
What about drinking?
Drinking
What's
here? It's
Yeah.
actually okay. Here, so gambling here 19, driving 16, smoking like tobacco is
Mhm.
21.
21.
Smoking marijuana is 19.
All right, so you can
Who
smoke
decided
that.
all this?
What's
So you
that?
can smoke, but you
Yeah.
can't gamble.
No, you can't or you can't smoke. Yeah, but you can gamble. Yeah.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah.
So did Scott gamble for you?
Yes, actually, that is what happened. So like they had the little horse racing doohickeys that they have the fake horse races, and he'd be like, "So which one's gonna win?" Number 4. It would go around the track.
Did you
And
win?
I think we won something. I think it was very low, but I think we won something.
It was the
if
end
I
of the night.
if I
and
do
it's like-
remember.
Yeah. It
Did
was
you
the
win
end
like
of the
a
night.
participation medal?
What's that?
Did you win like a participation medal?
Probably that's probably what Scott picked up.
Scott's like, "Just give me one more chance. No, we've been here all night. No,
No, but
this horse is gonna win."
see, funny thing is, we stayed at the Atlantica, I think. No, that's in Halifax. We stayed at the Tropicana. That's it, Tropicana Hotel. And we to get down to like the main area where you would get out of the resort hotel type thing was you had to walk past all of the slot machines. That's how they set it up. That's like standard for a lot of hotel casino
So
thing.
they got you.
Yeah. So we saw this one person. We went to bed around like 9 o'clock. It was going to be like a big night a big day the next day. So we walked past this slot machine. We saw this lady, who had a bracelet on her arm that had the card that you can use like to swipe the slot machines, stuff like that. It's like, I guess, a membership card or something. Anyway, so we I go down around 11 o'clock. I forget what we were doing. We were getting something. She's still there at 11. So 2 hours later, it's not that big of a deal. We go back up. We wake up relatively early in the morning to get set up in the convention center. We walk past, and it's like, I'd say probably 7 o'clock in the morning. And we look, and she's still there, still there in the same spot.
Oh my god. That's crazy.
We're like, okay. So, and like, we were talking to somebody else that we know, and was like, he had like kind of his foot in the door with some of the casino machines, and he was like, yeah, that's not uncommon here, to have people like spend all night gambling on the same machine.
Jesus Christ.
I would get so bored. Like, I've only ever tried a machine like that once, and I was like, so $20. I put in $20 and I get nothing back. Like,
The
Yeah,
thing
you
is
get,
with
5
these,
minutes of fun.
yeah, exactly. I actually won $20 in one in
oh,
Chicago,
jeez.
a slot machine.
My gosh, man.
I did lose 20 though.
So,
Just made nothing.
yeah.
I know.
I've
Yeah,
never
but
gambled.
you do get addicted. You do get addicted. I have to
I
admit, you
could see how people do, and they were like, in the convention, they had meetings about this new type of slot machine, or I guess gambling machine. It isn't really slots, called skill based, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. You think that it's partially skill, partially odds. So the more you play the game, the better you get at it, and the more money you win per play. But you still have to like get all the programming to make it like so they don't win all of your money if you make the machine type thing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jose, have you ever gambled?
I have never gambled.
No.
I think the only gambling I've done has been like in video games or whatever, but
Yeah.
I have never gambled in real life.
I
don't think I've ever had the chance to either.
like the farthest I go is like scratch tickets. That's like that.
Oh yeah, I guess you can call that gambling, so
yeah.
to speak. I remember. Well, I haven't done it for me, but I remember being a kid and my uncle asking me like, "Hey, pick a number," or
Yeah.
whatever, or my dad like, "Oh, scratches for me," but more than that, I haven't.
Yeah.
I want to someday, just to know what it feels like, but
Yeah.
I hope I don't get addicted. I definitely don't want to sit there until 7 in the morning.
Exactly.
Hell no.
Pulling the one
I
arm
do that
bandit.
enough. Do that enough working. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't make my money
Savvy says, "Good boy, don't gamble."
Yeah.
up.
And then Mad Mike
Oh,
says,
bad.
"Was the slot machine lady still alive? She was still alive, and that's the thing. Like,
She was probably dead inside though.
yeah, probably inside." And what the person said actually, like what the person who kind of has their foot in the door with all this like lotto machine VLT stuff, was that they actually rent out rooms in the hotel for months at a time.
What the fuck?
Yeah, just so they can like
So people can gamble for months?
I guess so. I guess that's what it means, but that's like it's kind of insane like to think about.
Do people have careers in gambling? Like, are there like pro
I don't
gamblers?
know. Like there must be like
The people that own the casinos, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. I just imagine like I don't know. You know how like gaming or whatever has like
Yeah, like
become like its own
esports.
sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, so
poker players. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That
Yeah.
is one, yeah.
Okay. There you
Yeah.
go.
Card.
Now, do you think
people
there's
that-
like professional like slot machine players or something?
I don't know. One second. I'll actually
I wonder if that lady had one big strong arm as well.
Oh shit.
Power lifter. Can you imagine that? Wow. So
Oh, it says there's no such thing as a professional slot machine player.
I guess that
Unfortunately.
makes sense because it's all just like luck based, I assume.
But there is an article here. Can you play slot machines professionally?
What does it say?
Is it really the career you want? One of the headlines.
They're just advising against
Yeah.
it. Like, listen,
Please
man.
please don't do it.
just just be
So,
aware.
so this website is called vegaslots.co.uk.
Oh, I pulled it up. I see it.
Yeah. Is it the career you want? Let's say right
Let's say
now.
right now.
Yeah.
Go
Playing
right ahead.
slots for a long session is monotonous,
What if
soul
my music
destroying, and
career?
boring.
If my music career doesn't work, it's gonna have to be slot machine career.
You could also end up in the red after a 12-hour session. So they like. I guess that person must have had a career in slot machines.
Yeah, they sound butthurt.
Yeah.
This sounds like a very painful.
No, they seem bitter, don't they? Do you really want to do it? It's useless.
Yeah. So like, it just seems insane to me that some people like can spend all of their money on this one machine.
Just to lose it all at the end.
Yeah.
That must be some shit. That would probably some serious depression or something.
Yeah.
Now I might be tripping with what I'm about to say, but for whatever reason, are alcoholics and gamblers synonymous to an extent?
I don't.
Like I imagine
Yeah.
these people fall into like crazy mental states and
Yeah,
then just
and-
like lose it all, literally.
And that is true because I know that in the like casino that we were walking through, you can sit there and you can get drinks for free also. Like it was like part of the deal. Like you I remember they came up to Scott and they're like, "Oh, what would you want for a drink?" And then Scott was like, "Oh, I just want like a water or something." Then then they came with like water right away.
Mm.
And the guy next to us was like, "Oh, I want like whatever drink he asked for. It was an alcoholic drink." And then it was brought to him like right off the bat. So I don't know, like.
Well, we have a bunch of betting shops up our road, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that just wait out there, like that, drink a lot, and then, I don't know how they get the money. That's the trouble.
Yeah, and they don't go well together because like whenever you are inebriated, you
just
you
become
don't
belligerent and just
yeah
like, all right,
you don't
another
make
try.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
know.
make the
You don't want to
most
judge
sound.
them, but I want to get past them in the wheelchair, and they're just in the way sometimes. I'm like, come on, man. Are you gonna gamble or not?
So Savvy says, I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but did you guys go through artist block? If you do, how do you overcome it?
Oh, I'll gladly talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, artist block growing up it's still a very, very real thing, right? And shit, I'll even go out of a limb and say that like even the motivation to work is a very scarce rarity, right? So, how do I overcome that? Long story short, and I'll give you both sides, but long story short, working now has I mean I don't like calling it work because then it makes me depressed, but drawing now has become a habit, an addiction, and just a day-to-day routine. But how did I get there? I know that growing up it was just like at first it was just like a curiosity thing, and then that kept me going for a while. After the curiosity was over and after I couldn't find what else to draw, I guess that's when you hit the artist block. But then it became a matter of like I learned quickly to start jotting down ideas. Like I have a huge, well, I have multiple huge lists of celebrities, of fan art ideas, of just projects I want to get to eventually. So these are things that I pick out of. Um, it used to be on a day-to-day basis. About 2 years ago, every single day, finish a portrait, finish a portrait, finish a portrait.
Mhm.
Eventually, going to school, of course, school gives you a set amount of work to do and a deadline, et cetera, et cetera. That was really tough because prior to that, I never would set a deadline for myself. I know that I did have the drive to finish a project a day, but typically that's not a very realistic thing to do because like similar to things that we were mentioning before, you can't just stare at something for the entirety of a project. You need to let it go for a little bit and come back to it with fresh eyes. However, being in school and being now focused on what is illustration or commercial illustration, uh, the main thing within illustration or within commercial illustration is
Mhm.
deadlines. So deadlines force you to push through those art blocks because whether you have an art block or not, those deadlines are not going to wait for you to be creative. You have to force yourself and teach yourself and become disciplined enough to just crank out work. There was a time in my life where I became just a machine. Like I'm just there's a list of activities that I need to do and stuff to get through. There's no time to think. I just have to go 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 go. Now, as weird as that may sound and as much as it may take away from my creative juices, it did help me create an addiction and a habit where now um it was taken to an extreme where now if I try to sit down and relax or try to go out to dinner with a girlfriend or try to, I don't know, go out hang out with friends or even with family and sit down for dinner, I feel weird not doing it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's become such a part of my daily routine that I feel almost guilty when
Not
I
doing it.
when I don't draw. Yeah, and that's fucked up to say because I do need to enjoy my life. But it at one time in my life it became just an overwhelming thing that I did that I didn't know how to properly enjoy my time outside of art. Like I remember being, for example, I used to date this girl back in school, and I remember attempting to go out to dinner with her, and literally all I can think about is fuck. I need to get back to work, and I need to do this and this and that. So, I guess the key to the art block is just disciplining yourself to keep a steady flow. And I mean, nowadays, there's no time for me to think about anything outside of work. Like there's just work piled up that there's just no time to not know what to do. There's just a
Exactly.
constant flow of things to do. However, I believe it's very important to I mean, as with anything in life, not to take things to an extreme, because no matter how good things are, too much good of anything can be bad. Um, so, what? Where's the short answer? I've lost it. What was the question? How do you get over
Writer's
art
block.
block? Yeah. Simple. Prepare. Just prepare. Discipline yourself to do it every day, if even. And I guess a key thing I can give you, or you can take away from this, is from my experience has been just writing a list of things to do. So whenever you feel like you're hitting an artist block, pull out from that list, and boom.
Do you go out with your like the dates at the time and go? They're eating dinner. And go. What do you think about your food? I'm like, I need to draw you. What?
there has been times where I can't think of any specific moment, but yeah, conversations usually or have usually turned to. I mean, we could be talking about anything. We could be talking about movies or whatever, and just because it's just how my brain is wired or how I've evolved it into thinking, it
Mhm.
always leads to, hey, that'll be interesting as a drawing, or hey, look at that lighting over there. That'd be cool for fucking colors or something. Or like I was mentioning earlier when I was watching John Wick, it's kind of a curse nowadays, but like learning to realize it has helped me accept it and deal with it. It's kind of weird that nowadays I can't necessarily enjoy things for what they are. I usually tend to think of them with an artistic approach, whether it's, I don't know, looking at photographs or watching movies or listening to music. I tend to overanalyze things and see what I can take away from them to further implement that in my artwork.
Do you think the magic has gone a little in film then, because you're looking at it through like great detail now, visually?
Say that one more time.
When you look at films now, has the magic sort of gone a little because you're looking at it in great detail?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, but
visually.
yes, but also realizing what's happening has helped me like tone down the over analyzing a little bit and just enjoying it for what it is, you know.
Oh, yeah. But I suppose you can do art if you're outside. I know you can't go out now at the moment, but you could probably bring a little notebook and just draw something like a little sketch, just to, you know.
That's always a fun idea in theory. At least I know a lot of people do it. Like they're constantly bring a little sketchbook around and like, you know, just doodle things and study from life, which is a great thing to do to any or to tell any artist. Like, you know, there's a difference between learning from a photograph. Like a photograph doesn't really capture what you see, you
Yeah.
know. So it's always a great thing to study from life, which is why you always see those like life paintings of like fruits or people and stuff like that or nature. That's always a great thing. However,
Mhm.
the reason I oppose to bringing a sketchbook around, well, there's two reasons. One, I haven't necessarily even picked up a pencil in years. Like all I do now is traditionally, which I guess I can bring my iPad around, but that's not necessarily a like it's huge. It doesn't fit in my pocket, right?
Mhm.
But two, I can't multitask, like, which is why, and I'm just going off a tangent. But for example, uh, I was always the quiet kid in class. I know, shocker. I can talk your brains out for hours. But I
It's
was
good.
I was always the quiet kid in class, not because I was shy, but because I can't talk and work at the same time. It's either one or the other. So either I'm focusing on my work or I'm goofing off with classmates or
Mhm.
whatever. But I can't do both at the same time. So the reason I say that is I don't bring a sketchbook around because if I'm going out to enjoy a movie or to just, I don't know, go out for dinner or whatever, it's either one or the other, and I don't want to take away from whoever I'm with. Like I don't want to take away from their time. So I don't know. There's a give and take there, but nah, I don't usually bring sketchbooks around. I would love to in theory, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll try it when I'm
Um,
old
uh,
and I no longer worry about it.
well, us artists, we criticize ourselves on certain work. But is this a piece of work that you're really proud of, or pieces of work?
There's one. So I get this question asked often, and there's always this one answer, and I hope that. Well, I guess it has changed recently, but one thing that I'm very, very proud of is the first comic book I published, which was the adaptation of the Incredible True Story.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just because growing up, like all I wanted to do was hold my own comic in my hand, and that was a very like rewarding moment because I don't know if you guys know, but um, I used to work at Target. Like my last job, I haven't worked a 9 to 5 in about 3 years. Like I've been doing full art for that long,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's good.
my last job was working at a Target. And I remember they fired me. And I remember sitting in my car and telling myself, I no longer, ever, ever for the rest of my life want to go into my workspace and clock in and clock out. I never want to do that ever again. I want to work for myself and I want art to be my main source of income. So I remember very stupidly wasting all my savings and having about $10 in my savings account, but still being as passionate as ever, told myself, okay, I've wanted to do this comic book for about a year now. It's now or never. And I literally sat day in and day out for a month straight until I had the book in my hands, or rather until I sent the book out to printing.
Mhm.
And when I received it back, it was one of the most rewarding moments in my life. Not only because I accomplished something I've set my mind or I set out to do, but also because the sales of that book alone, even if it was only like I think I only sold a couple of them, but just the money alone I got from that helped me stay afloat and it fed me and it was a big eye opener when it came to realizing that I can make this work despite
Exactly. Yeah.
right despite having society or let alone my parents in my ear like, oh, why'd you quit, like go find a job, blah 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 blah, and not wanting to do it because to be honest with you, working a 9 to 5 makes me miserable. Like I remember I used to work at Walmart as well, and I remember uh, the first year I was there, I was a cashier, and then I moved to customer service. So when I was in customer service, talking to all these crazy customers, I
Mm.
remember going on my break and just thinking to myself, like, damn, like I don't want to fucking do this ever again. How am I gonna kill myself? Or just like stupid, crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid to admit, but it is weird to say to people.
Mm.
And not that I would have gone through with it, but it's just,
Yeah.
your mind is pushed to a certain extent where you just start going crazy. But anyways, long story short, working makes me miserable. So now to finally have this thing in my hand of the book I'm referring to, and now having people who want to just throw money my way for my product made me tell myself, like, okay, this can work, but it's gonna need a lot more effort and a lot more time, and you need to put 100% on it, or else, even till today, like I'm afraid that, and I'm confident that it won't happen, but I'm still afraid that this is gonna stop one day, and money is gonna stop flowing in, and I'm gonna stop being able to support myself through my creations.
Mhm.
So I don't know when that would happen, but I don't know.
Are you living for the moment? Yeah.
I'm definitely living. I'm a huge believer in doing things when you have the opportunity to.
Mhm.
I'd rather do them and fail than sit here years after the fact and then regretting not taking the opportunity when I had it.
I think anyone that tries something have succeeded already. Yeah, even if in the end it doesn't quite work out, at least you tried it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
You
that's
can
what people
definitely
should do.
learn
Yeah.
from. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%, because even if, like you were saying, even if you fail, I'm sure there's something you learn from it, and
Hmm.
you can perhaps at the very least learn what not to do.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Excellent. Have you? Someone, Mad Mike, has said, "Have you ever wanted to try your hand at drawing animations like cartoons or anime?"
Yeah, I took a year in animation. It's really, 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 really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, only because you're drawing hundreds, if not thousands, of frames for a couple of seconds of animation. Um, I remember being scared of it just because it's so much work, but I'm definitely interested in someday in my life jumping back into that, because I do want to, I love exploring new forms of art.
Hmm.
So that's definitely on my radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite anime at the moment?
At the moment, I'd say either Dragon Slayer or My Hero Academia.
Oh, is there any older anime that you've watched in the past that you thought, oh
Cow-
yeah, I love it?
Cowboy Bebop, without a doubt. Um, Akira, of course, and I mean, as a kid, I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fucking nerd.
Yeah.
So Dragon Ball Z basically raised me. So how
Oh
about you guys?
yeah.
You guys into anime?
Oh,
I
I got into anime watching, was it Akira? That was the first anime I saw.
Ooh, yeah, that's a great one.
And the best bit of it was the bikes. You-
I f- yeah,
that-
I love those fucking bike chases scenes. They were great.
and the music though, that music, crazy.
Everything
All,
about it
all
was
that percussion. Yeah. But yeah, that was the first anime, and it's still one of my best favorite films.
have not watched any anime.
No, you
No.
should
at
start.
all. Have you ever caught it? Like, I don't know, caught somebody else watching it or whatever?
Yeah. I actually, funny story. I participated in one uh part of the anime club that used to happen at my old school. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay. What was your
like
go
they
on.
I just kind of like felt like joining because a lot of my friends were in it. Like my friend group, they kind of ran it,
Mm,
but I went for one of their movie nights that they had. Like they would actually get like a lecture theater, and they would get the projector and play a movie on it.
mhm.
And the one movie that I did watch was Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, I've still
That
haven't seen
I
that.
I I'm
Not
not
familiar.
sure how anime that is, but it is. That's what they watch.
It's
That's
one of the popular ones, yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as I've
What
dived into it.
what type of stories are you guys into?
Like for movies or just
Just
like
in
in
general,
general.
just type of stories. Yeah. What?
I'm kind of more of a fantasy type. I like Lord of the Rings a lot
Gotcha.
and that kind of thing. Like I like those kind of things.
How about you, Charlie?
Me, as long as there's a good story and there's some sort of twist, that's the kind of stuff I like. And I also like just stupid storylines. So just, the so like action films. I don't care if there's a story much, but as long as it's good, yeah. So like Jackie Chan police story, stuff like that.
I love
Yeah.
Jackie. Andrew. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't until about a year and a half ago. Like I've watched Lord of the Rings as a kid.
Yeah.
Honestly, I never liked it just
Yeah.
because it was as a kid it bored me. Right.
Mhm.
So it wasn't until recently that I've opened my mind a lot to just new genres and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So outside of the Lord of the Rings stuff and stuff like that, what other fantasy stuff do you recommend? Whether it's video games or movies or shows or whatever.
So like my favorite like I guess you would say fantasy type game is Skyrim. It's very like old school
Yeah, I
like
actually never played Skyrim,
yeah, Skyrim's
and
Skyrim's a good game if you're into like medieval type
I've always
stuff like
wanted to
that.
play it just because like my friends were super into it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll play it eventually, and I never got around to it.
You could
Um
always try The Witcher 3 as well.
yeah,
I
If you,
have
the
The Witcher. I
I
love The Witcher.
I
Yeah,
I've
I've been
not
playing that.
played The Witcher, any of the Witcher games.
you should. It's great.
Um
I
but
still haven't finished it yet.
we
I don't want to finish it. Yeah.
we talked about that in our very first episode of this podcast 10 weeks ago. We talked about you
Yeah,
you
because I was playing with my cousin got it as well. He got
yeah,
The Witcher 3, and he's quite a competitive
like
person. And for some reason, it became a competition who could finish it.
yeah, and
And there was
just like
no,
stepping away for this for a second, I just want to bring up something that I was thinking about last night. Whatever I was kind of like looking at all the episodes and searching for clips. Um, whenever we first started, I'd say like this is it was a good time to start it because going through each week, we kind of get a feel of how this pandemic has progressed. Like, we went from our first episode, we were both talking about our sports teams and how good or bad they were doing,
hmm
to the second episode being like, oh, there's this weird pandemic that's coming up in, and then the third episode, I think it was called A Virus with a question mark, and we were like, yeah, so NBA just like closed their doors, and then the fourth episode was like a virus period, and it was hockey, football, I think, or no MLB, like baseball,
Baseball. Yeah.
hmm
yeah, and basketball all postponed their seasons, and and then the next episode, I think it was called Wash Your Hands or something like that, and we were talking about how it's progressing, and I said something along the lines of, oh, there was only one case where I am, and now luckily I'm not saying this like we have 27 cases now, so it's not
That's
like
it.
yeah.
Oh man, God bless y'all.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
there's a roughly 3,000 in my
Yeah,
area.
yeah. I heard New Jersey's getting hit pretty bad with it. New York, New Jersey.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
man, yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy.
and technically there's only 3 active cases here.
Wow,
Blooming
Yeah,
hell.
so there's
great.
yeah, it's been pretty good. We've got a good leadership core, and they're actually, this brings me to another point. They last night they released details on how they're beginning to reopen PEI. They're doing it in a four-phase program. First phase is like you can now visit your friends outdoors only, with a max of 5 people. And then the next stage, which is May 22nd, they're gonna allow indoor gatherings of 5 people or less.
Wow.
And then June 12th, they're allowing outdoor activities like soccer, hockey, football to resume. And also they're allowing campgrounds to open and beaches. Personally, I feel like
You'd rather it not.
It's
Too soon.
a little bit rushed, but at the same time, we've had one case in the last, or 2 cases in the last 2 weeks.
You know why? Because everyone's been staying in. That's what people don't get.
Yeah,
yeah,
people.
That's
here,
why it's slowing down.
Yeah, here they're doing like really good job of social distancing, washing your hands, all that kind of stuff. Like businesses are cleaning like crazy. Like you go into a store and it's like you see employees. There's employees dedicated to just cleaning things. And I feel like that's why, and also the fact that we're an island, so there's only 3 ways on.
I think your prime minister, has done the right job. There's
there-
obviously been quite a few deaths, but no, there is.
So our
the
prime
US.
minister hasn't really, like, he's done stuff like financially, so like small businesses that had to close, all that kind of stuff. But really, the premiers and public health officers are the ones that are doing the hard work here.
It's like the medical teams again. They're doing all the work.
The medical teams, but here they're actually getting a little bit more praise than I hear other places are not doing the same. Some places are I don't want to say where, but there are places who are actually like standing outside of the hospitals, kind of abusing the nurses, is what I hear.
What about protection over there? Is it any good with the nurses and doctors?
So, see, thing here, there has been no hospitalizations due to COVID.
That's great.
So our healthcare system is literally not taxed at all right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess we have like a stockpile of it. If say one day somebody decides to come onto PEI and cough on a bunch of people and then leave, they can like get into the stockpiles. So
What?
like I feel like you don't really know what you have until you need it.
Until it's too late. Yeah, man.
I know. Well, Swiss authorities say young children can hug their grandparents. I don't know what that means.
They what did they say? Sorry, I didn't catch
Swiss
that.
authorities say young children can hug their grandparents.
Young children can hug their grandparents.
Well, even if they're far away, they can just go and hug them. I don't understand that. But there's other countries that have done well. Germany did do well, but now they've got a few more cases.
Yeah, and then there's other places who completely did not do any like restrictions at all. Like they didn't even do like stay-at-home orders. I heard
Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden. That's it.
Yeah.
They did no stay-at-home orders, and
because they told the people what they had to do, and they did it.
Yeah, and they did it exactly.
As they should. Yeah, there are so many, just so many morons at least in my area, who till this day, like, there's been I know plenty of my peers who have lost like family members due to
Yeah.
this, and till this day, they just treat it like a joke. Like, it's like, fam, like, all you need to do is just chill and stay home. However, here's the question I wanted to ask you guys. Well,
Yeah.
I guess it's a part question. One, um, how has all this affected your day to day? And furthermore, how has it affected you mentally? And I only say that because I know that a lot of my peers, they for starters, there are people who are every day they're going out to work or et cetera, et cetera. And most of them, I've I always check up on them and stuff, but like a lot of them are going crazy, for lack of better
Yeah.
term. They don't know what to do with themselves. They can't stay at home. They need to go out. So anyways, how has it affected your day to day, and how has it affected you mentally?
Andrew?
So I guess my day to day hasn't really changed that much. So I have two jobs. So one of them is working with Rabbit Hole Studios, and that's all done digitally. So like all on the computer.
Right.
And my other job is an essential job. I'm a gas station attendant. So
Okay.
so like I guess it hasn't really affected me. Like I still have to go out. I still have to work from the actual place of business. But in other ways, like they the kids that live at my house, they still have to they can't go to school now. So I come home in the evenings and they're still here. Like they usually I come home, it's very quiet. Um, as for mental state, I'd say I'm kind of like on edge would be a good word, because like my mom, she's in the very vulnerable like category, so like she's got quite a few problems, so we have to be very cautious of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like don't be so cautious that it makes you sick, like that kind of thing. Like don't be so
Yeah, I
cautious
hear
that
that.
that
Yeah.
it drives you crazy.
But then again, you got to work and then
Yeah, then
bring
come
in
home. Yeah.
money, and but you're still worried about your mum and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, but other than like that kind of thing, I'm fine. I go out. I still order takeout food sometimes. I, s- I still like uh, going on drives, being able to go on walks or runs and that kind of
Mm.
thing. Like a lot of things haven't changed, but a lot of things have. I can't go out and visit my girlfriend and then go to Walmart or whatever we would do.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like
Does she live far then? Yeah.
no, she lives 10 minutes away from me.
Okay.
Like
Oh.
here, you can reach one side of the island to the other in I think 4 hours. So a lot of
Oh
people are.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're the most densely populated province, but we're the smallest province.
Interesting.
Yeah,
How about you, Charlie? How has it affected?
Well, normally I'm quite isolated anyway because of the wheelchair, so I don't
Right.
get out too much. So I do all my work from home. I compose music for Rabbit Hole Studios, and I try and keep busy just doing music and stuff, as well as this podcast. So it keeps me mentally stable because I'm with my family at the moment, and my wife is with her family because of from an illness. So she's in the US at the moment, so I'm away from her as well. So and here I'm with vulnerable people that are one's got a heart problem, the other's like I'd say older, and they could catch it. So I'm always worried about them, everyone.
Mm.
So I can't be with my wife, and I'm with vulnerable people at the moment. And apart from that, I'm doing great, yeah. But I still manage. I'm still trying to be positive. So
That's great. I
yeah,
I guess I've been affected very negatively mentally, not from a personal point of view, because to be honest, my schedule has, like I've mentioned before, hasn't changed much. I mean, literally all I do all day is sit in front of my computer like I'm doing now and just draw my life away. However,
Mhm.
there has been a weird sense of non-uniformity, if that makes sense, or rather, since there's no sense of um, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no sense of like actual schedule, or help me out here. I'm at a loss of words. There's no sense of
Structure.
unity structure. Yes, there's no sense of structure, and for whatever reason, it has messed me up mentally. Um, Due to the fact that like, you know, generally every day I get up and I'm like, okay, I have to finish this today or
Mhm.
work on this today, and by this time, cool, I'll go to sleep, do it all again tomorrow. So there's a pattern there. However, now, since I guess a lot of pressure has been released from my shoulders, I now have found a weird um, feeling of like, okay, I need to do other stuff that's not art. And that has led to just messing up my sleep schedule, because I would just go hours on end just reading or watching movies and stuff like that, which then unfortunately messes me up mentally because I can't concentrate during work. Now, on top of that, like I was mentioning, a lot of my peers are going crazy, and like I'm always the type to constantly check up on my friends and family, and I'm constantly partaking in any issue that they may have personally or whatever, because I don't know, I'm always the one that they seek to for advice and stuff like that, right? And there's been plenty of cases. For example, I have one friend who she's a mother of two, and her older daughter, she's around 8 years old or whatever,
Mhm.
recently had to, unfortunately, had to be like sent into psychiatry because she had an episode where, for whatever reason, her mom went out, and they I guess the daughter texted her something, and she replied, because she was driving, she replied, I'll see you when I get home. And I believe the daughter, for whatever reason, was terrified enough to call the police, thinking that the mother was gonna hurt her in a way,
Mhm.
and then later found out that like the cops found out that she had written a suicide note on her phone. And it's crazy to think that an 8-year-old is going through this. And I say that to say that they asked her a bunch of what was going on, and they concluded that this whole hysteria and this whole pandemic stuff got to her in a very weird way, where now she's really sad that she can't see her friends in school, and really sad that she can't go about her day to day. So like it's weird to think that like, damn, even like kids are suffering through this, and like I'm sure
Exactly.
it's like crazy for them because they don't know what the fuck is going on,
No.
um and I can only believe it's been very detrimental to many people outside of the obvious, of course, losing their loved ones and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But just it's also been just a huge change of routine for many of us, and of course us as humans, we're so used to our day-to-day stuff and our normal patterns that any change, no matter the size, tends to put us out of whack, and I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing okay and not much has
Yeah.
changed, friends. But yeah, man, it's been a lot of, and on top of that, just like social media constantly,
Mhm.
they never want to show the positive. It's constantly like, oh, people dying, and blah 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 blah. And like, I live in a very populated area, so there's deaths left and right. And like, I'm just like, I've been surrounded by nothing but negativity, and I've tried to like separate myself from all of that. Like, I no
Yeah.
longer watch TV, I no longer watch the news, I no
Mhm.
longer scroll hours on end through social media, unless
Yeah.
I'm like talking to clients or posting or interacting with fans and stuff. But yeah, it's been a really really weird uh episode in our lives, at least for me mentally.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
trying to
still
stay.
grateful for what I've got because there's other people out there who've just got nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you got, yeah, because I know it will be over eventually. That's what you got to think of.
It
for
will be.
sure.
Yeah. And what would be the first thing you're going to do when all this is over?
I want to go to a club and get shit faced.
Yeah.
Straight
a
up.
lot of people are saying
Well,
that actually.
we're joining you.
We
Oh,
can
man.
join virtually. You can
Shit,
bring your
I'm
phone
down
in.
Okay.
for a drink.
Yeah, we should have like a drunk podcast one.
Yeah, this is fun. We should definitely do it again and
Yeah.
and fucking get drunk or whatever. I'm
Oh yeah,
down.
that'd be good. Yeah, I've had fun today.
How about you guys? What's the first thing that you guys want to do when all
Oh
this?
damn. I first thing that I want to do is go camping because I've been looking forward to that since the winter, and then it's literally been like, no, I'm not gonna be able to go. It's not gonna happen this year. Being really bummed to they just released something that said by June 20 or June 12th, all campgrounds are open only for residents of PEI. So I'm like, hey, PEI is getting
Is
a.
that something you're frequent? Do you go camping
Oh,
often?
I love camping. Yeah.
Nice.
I think I went like 8 times last summer. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
always wanted to. Like, it sounds really interesting. I'm just afraid
yeah,
of like bug shit for whatever
yeah.
reason.
I've been camping. I went
like
with my brother and sister
yeah,
years ago.
if
That's when I did blind football.
if you are scared of like of bugs and stuff like that, what I recommend is starting off going camping on like renting a trailer or something for a couple days, just like a small one, and
Right.
and I like that's how I started because I have an irrational fear of like every type of bug. So now I'm like I'm still pretty I hate bugs, but I'm like uh just like kind of
You just okay
yeah
with them, like whatever.
yeah
It's sure just bugs. You know what's weird? And I don't mean to intervene, but
yeah
this came to me while you were talking about. I don't know why I have an irrational fear of bugs. If I remember growing up in like poor houses and shit like that, and there
yeah
were roaches everywhere,
yeah
roaches, rats, and shit like that. And it's like I remember I remember growing up and like learning to just live with it. Like, oh yeah, there's a roach on the wall, whatever, let's kill it, right?
yeah
Um, but for whatever reason, I'm still like, if I were to see a roach, I'd be like, fuck a roach or whatever, and
yeah
fucking and geek out like a little girl or whatever. But it's yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get over that. But maybe I will. Maybe now being an adult, maybe I'll go out there and just pick up a bunch of bugs in my hands and realize that like I'm like 300 times their fucking size. What are they
yeah.
gonna do to me?
So
Have a bath full of bugs.
oh no.
My
So fun fact, I've never actually seen a roach before in my life.
Really?
what?
Yeah, they don't
No way, really?
they aren't common here.
By the way, go to Mexico.
Yeah.
You'll see big, giant, fucking bugs.
Do
They are
exist?
massive. They are massive.
I remember being in Puerto Rico as a kid. I lived in Puerto Rico for a year, while I was like 5 or 6 or something, and we have these flying giant. They look like a fucking baseball roaches that just fly around and hiss everywhere. It's the most disgusting shit ever. But I don't know. Like I might just hop in a bath with them and just get over that fear. Because
Yeah.
like they like they're just fucking bugs. They're just doing their thing, you know.
Yeah.
Have you ever killed one?
Plenty of them. I mean, I love fucking throwing shoes across the room to see if I hit them on the wall and stuff. I remember being a kid. I don't know why all this is coming back to me, but you guys have just like opened like a whole box of memories. I remember living in PR, coming out of my bathroom and looking at the floor and seeing what I thought was just a giant worm. And I don't know why, but I wanted to touch it. And my mom jumped out of nowhere, grabbed a machete from behind the fridge and just chopped it
Machete?
up. And she was like, "Yeah." Yeah, she was like, "Hey, don't you ever touch that? That's a centipede. That's a centipede, and it's
Oh.
gonna sting you and kill." And she just chopped it up into 100 pieces, and I was like, "What the fuck? You killed my friend, mom! Like, what are you doing?" So, wow, I haven't thought about.
We've had
I'm
many
gonna bring
nights together doing drawing.
yeah, I'm gonna bring that up to my mom, see if she remembers that.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that
amazed with the was machete bit.
so I don't know if you're into like stupid stereotypes, but Puerto Ricans, there's a huge stereotype that Puerto Ricans like carry machetes and shit. And I can say, at least from experience, in my family, it's a true thing. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just a way of defending themselves against like a lot of crime that happens over there and stuff like that. But my mom just nonchalant, like if it was a broom or something, she just nonchalantly whipped it out of behind from the fridge and shit, and just chopped away and just like, hey, don't touch that. That's bad.
Maybe that's the reason for it. Is that there's just bugs
Just-
everywhere.
yeah, just for that. Oh shit.
Well, I bet you were good. You never did anything bad, or the machete's coming after you.
Nah, yeah, I was. I mean, I've never been a misbehaved kid, so. But shit, I don't know. I do want to go camping one day.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. I
What other things are you guys into?
so I collect vinyl records. That
Whoa.
yeah, that's my shtick.
What are some of your favorites?
My favorites, Journey Escape by like Harvest Moon by Neil Young. I'm into the oldies. Like I like
Now, do you collect them based on your music preference, or do you sometimes like, oh, that's a cool cover, let me pick that up?
kind of both actually. Like I collect all of my favorites, but then I might go to a record shop and just be like, "Hey, that's a really cool record." And pick it up and take it
Recently,
home.
I've always been a collector of of CDs,
Yeah.
and but recently I've gone into the weird. I don't know. I've just had a weird like thing where like I want to collect some of my favorite albums and vinyls. I don't even have a vinyl record or a record player, I should say,
Yeah.
but I just want to hold the artwork in my hands.
That's exactly why I do it. I like feeling the ownership of this like music, like being able
Just
to
have
hold
it in your hand,
yeah.
for sure. And I don't know if that's like a generational thing. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
23, 23, yeah.
Okay,
I had
Charlie,
to
how
think
about you?
about that.
I'm 38.
Do you feel the same way? Like, do you like collecting just things, like physical things, whether they're
Yeah,
albums, movies, or
yeah, I
whatever?
prefer the physical thing. So I collect
Yeah.
all console games
Yeah,
and
exactly.
handhelds.
I
So I
was
need to have them.
I'm the same way. Like, I still have my very first Game Boy Color and my SP. I still have my GameCube and my PS. I have all this shit as a kid, right?
yeah.
However, I can't get over it. Like, I need to have a physical copy. And funny enough, it wasn't until like about a couple, actually in February, while I was in California at Anthony's house, um, there was this, I think it was D Smoke's album that came out, and I couldn't find the link to it in iTunes to buy it immediately. But it wasn't until then that I finally just like opted to subscribe to streaming services. Like,
Yeah.
despite of, I mean, it's still like I'll still buy albums digitally and stuff, but even that I don't like. Like, I like to have, I don't know what it is, but I just love to own things
Exactly.
physically.
Yeah.
And
Because a lot of the new video pure computer games, they're normally digital now, aren't they? You can't really get
yeah,
a physical version of them.
and don't get me
Uh,
wrong, it's very convenient to just like hop in your
Oh, it
computer
is.
or
It is.
console or whatever, and just in 2 seconds have it and available. But I don't know, man. It's just a different feeling. And I think it was Stan Lee that once said that that yeah, like tits are great, but it's one thing looking at them on a screen or and then compared them to like holding it in your hands or whatever. I feel the same way with like literally everything else. There's just a weird. It's just a sensation you don't get
You
from
need
like
to hold them and then put them across your face.
I
Kiss
actually
them.
I recently ordered the 1998 album that I did for Anthony for Silas last year.
Yeah.
I caved in and ordered a vinyl copy of it, and I can't fucking wait to hold that in my hands. I think I'm gonna cry. It'll be like the first vinyl work that I've done, or just album work that I've done on vinyl. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for that. However, I gotta wait till fucking June for it to. I didn't realize it took so long to press and create
Yeah.
and stuff.
Will you get a record player for it?
I want to. I should.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna sit there and catch dust.
But
Yeah,
you can get newer ones now.
Yeah, I
like-
was gonna say, you can get pretty cheap ones if you don't really care about like it sounding like it did in the studio and stuff like that. You can get ones that are like suitcase style, like $50.
I was just thinking about those. Oh, really? They're that cheap?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't want to say the name because it's so bad, but Yeah, like in the vinyl collecting community, it's very you're not supposed to buy these type of records. It's 74 Canadian, which would be around 50, I'd say.
USD.
Yeah. So let's go 75. It is $53 United States.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess, like you were saying, I mean, I guess you get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of the more like top of the line record players?
So
How much does it cost?
the be all end all for me right now, like what I'm working towards getting, is a record player. I don't know the exact model name, but I'm sure if I go on to my Amazon here, I'll be able to get it. Is the Audio Technica.
Mm.
1 second.
You should get as well vintage speakers because
There it
they
is.
really are. They give the really good bass to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
So
loud.
so the record player I really want is called the Audio Technica AT-LP 120, and it's like top of the line. It has radar that is able to tell how fast your record is spinning. Slow
I
it
see.
down. Yeah.
Is it the $150 one ish around?
Yeah, that's probably American Amazon,
Yeah.
is it?
Audio
'Cause-
Technica AT-LP 60 XB. Is that what you said?
No, 120X USB.
Oh, 120. Okay. All right. I'm familiar with the name. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen one of these in
Yeah,
person though.
so
But they...
it's 400 Canadian is
Oh shit.
yeah,
Okay.
is what it
Wow.
costs. That's like the one that I would absolutely love to get. That's right
Now
now.
here's a question.
What's that? Yeah.
What differentiates a $400 one from like a $50 one?
$50. So I know that the one that I was looking at, the one that shall not be named, actually does not come with a metal needle. It comes with a plastic needle.
Ew.
Yeah. That's one of the differences.
Oh, okay.
What's the quality?
It would be
Sound.
horrible. With the Audio Technica one, you have like an anti-static slip mat, so like you would get like no crackling with your records. You would have like groove tracking, so like the arm would be able to move back and forth without skipping over tracks and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Just get an old vintage one.
Yeah, exactly. Like that
if
is
you really want it how it was, you should get the vintage one.
That is one of the things that I would really like to do, is get
Yeah.
one of the old box ones, the ones that were like an all-in-one speakers.
Yeah, I think I've got one of them, but it's in the loft.
Speakers, record player, and like stereo all in one.
Yeah, that's what you gotta get. That's definitely what you gotta get.
Yeah. So, and then going back to the point of what makes it different, it has a weighted needle, so it has better sound quality.
Okay.
And there was one more thing. Oh yeah, this isn't really. You could probably just do this with like a clip-on light, but you can have a track selecting light, so you're able to see what track you're putting your needle on.
Okay, I see why it's worth that much. That's awesome. I'm gonna look into those.
Yeah. The expensive ones are pretty cool, but
I pulled up a Audio Technica AT-LP 120X USB.
yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Interesting. It's $250 USD over here.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nice.
It's 400 here.
Oh man, thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely looking.
No problem. Yeah. So we're just hitting 2 hours now of chatting. So.
Oh shit! Already?
Yeah.
Wow. Damn. Okay.
We went down the rabbit hole there.
Yeah, this is by far the longest podcast we've had.
Hey let's go.
Woo, yeah,
Set
we
a
did it.
record. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Did it?
Yeah. And it is the milestone 10th episode.
Woo, damn.
Perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect
Next
then.
time we talk, we have to top that.
Yeah, we have to. That's the only way.
Wait, before we go,
Oh.
Andrew, did you get that Minecraft vinyl?
I did not get the Minecraft vinyl, but I would like to get the Minecraft vinyl, and I still am like on the edge of getting it. It's
Why?
$100, and I don't think I want to spend $100 on on the Minecraft soundtrack.
Yeah, it has to be vintage vinyl, not
Yeah.
Minecraft. Come on, people.
So I guess we'll end it off here.
Hmm.
But before we go, I have been requested to allow people to know where you can find us. So we're Rabbit Hole Studios. So if you haven't tuned in before, and you can find us on Facebook at Studio Burrow, Twitter same at Studio Burrow, spelled the same way as our Twitch name. And you can also find us on YouTube now because of Charlie. That's
Sorry about that. More links.
and that's the Rabbit Hole Show on YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I will see everybody next time. And
Guys, it's been an absolute
Yeah.
pleasure. You guys are the best.
thank you
We've
for
been
joining
with
us,
the legendary Jose.
Jose.
As
Fernandez.
someone
Thank
said.
you so much. Guys,
You are
I
legendary.
appreciate your time. I'm sorry to take 2 hours
No, it's
of your
awesome.
time. But
Awesome.
it's been very awesome for me, and I'm looking forward to doing this sometime in the future again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure.
We'll see how we are when all this is over as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. We'll
Yeah.
maybe do
I hope
another
you
one.
guys stay safe. I hope you guys stay creative and awesome.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute blast.
You too.
Yeah,
Take
thank
care.
you.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you
Wash those hands.
Yeah.